construction stage with it, or just at the design stage?
No,
Because obviously you would have seen the benefit in the construction stage,
yeah, well, that was
which wouldn't have been in your bottom line. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, the reason we did do it was for construction stage. It wasn't a contractual obligation. As I kind of saying in my speech there, we did go back and give a look at the time we spent on the modelling, and we did look back and see how much time we would save. Didn't come to any real conclusion other than if it saved us 1 or 2 days, trying to send a guy on site, trying to redo the reinforcement, maybe even change the reinforcement to get it to fit on site. That time lost, now what that could be anything, depends on the magnitude of the error from the 2D. That time offset against the extra overtime spent in modelling in 3D. Because there is efficiencies, it was big enough that we could copy, because what I didn't say is that replicated at the other end of the building. So there was a copy over as well, which kind of comes into that. Now you can say that 2D as well, but then you're copying over the mistake, which we didn't do. So you can, what I find in a lot of these things is that you can generate the numbers of the data to give you the outcome that you want, In this instance, we don't have, because I don't know if we built the exact same building and did it in 2D and we ran into problems, how much time and how much claims that would generate. I don't have that information. It's not real, it doesn't exist. I can estimate it, but I could estimate it in a positive sense to say that it was cost effective to do it, if that makes any sense. But I do believe that from the assessment we did do, it was more beneficial. We didn't really do it. We did it because we could do it, and we did it because we knew that would be a huge problem on that job for CISC if they lost a couple of days on both ends of the building because they were making the cage at the same time. That would have huge repercussions, the whole project as a whole. That would ultimately come back on our table. So we were de-risking us doing it, but I think it was cost neutral from the analysis we did do. But as I said, if we'd have spent an extra day, then we made money out of it. If we didn't have to do it and kept it in 2D, it cost us money to do it. But reputational damage is hard to repair.
Have we got anybody else that would like to ask a question? Okay, you want to ask one?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
It was for yourself, actually. So a lot of the things we do is in flood studies. Sorry, I'm not in the spot now. A lot of the stuff we do, like flood maps, and you build on the flood maps and you see in your floodplain and stuff like that. Do you think what you're doing will deflood zones and make land more residential development, or is the outcome that you're seeing is that more floodplains are being generated out of those basic flood maps that we're working to?
Well, one of the positives in being able to run those models and the short time that it takes to run them is that we can play with different types of flood defences, and we can see the ramifications of placing certain types of defences and where best to place them. So that's one of the the kind of default tools that have emerged from the project so far with us without having to realise it. So initially we were just running models and seeing what floods, and then it's like, okay, right, if we put this type of flood defence, what's the ramifications of the actual 1 in 25 year event or 1 in 50 year event, And then one of the other kind of, I suppose things that's come out of the project as well is we plan to run these drones during these events. So that the idea is like that if you can see a bridge becoming blocked or a drain becoming blocked, you can run that model quickly again and say like, okay, actually the water's no longer flowing through this bridge. What's going to happen in 2 hours' time? And then you can where best to place the resources. So is it a case that we try and get people out of these houses here now, or is it a case of like, right, if we spend a half an hour clearing this bridge, we suddenly no longer need to actually evacuate all these houses?
Yeah, cause like one of the things, and I said that was structured at the start, like you add half a metre for global warming, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like if you've got that over a couple of number of years, maybe that number should be more or should be less. That would de-risk certain zones. Like the commercial aspect of that from a development point of view, from a developer point of view, like ultimately I'd be saying to you, right, this is zoned here, this bit of a site here is in the floodplain based on the maps. I get you in and say, right, can you rerun the model here on based on the data that you have? And you say, no, that no longer is in the floodplain, that map is outdated. But there's a bit of work to get to that stage, but it would be
so
commercially viable.
The fact that we've trained it a lot now with the data that we have. So the beauty about machine learning is that you don't need a full picture to run kind of these new scenarios, you know, that like I can't show all the slides there, like, but you know, we have ran a couple of scenarios, and particularly in the Walloon region where a lot of the work has been done to date. You know, we can see the potential of, you know, running for different types of events. And the other thing is about increasing awareness to the ordinary population, so, and trying to use those people in kind of flash flood events as well. So there is a tendency, I suppose, just let emergency services people, you know, fill the sandbags and not actually get ordinary people involved. So part of this project is about training ordinary people in the street how to fill sandbags and what steps they can take to mitigate against the, I suppose, flood damage as well.
Well, thanks. I'm curious.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? If not, I actually have one for the panel. So we saw some stats there about potential savings. So I don't know, I can't remember the exact numbers, but the stupid 50% reduction in time, 70% reduction in cost, and all of this, that somehow AI is going to make all of this possible. Now, I personally don't believe it. I think there's some savings to be made in the sector, but I don't think we're quite as wasteful as that. I think it's a little bit, you know, I'm not quite sure of the data, but I would like to, having already poisoned the well, what's your review on that? We can go through the panel there if anyone wants to take it, or do you believe that those figures are truly achievable, or would you feel that they're perhaps a little bit over-optimistic? Or what I think is they're attributing things to AI that wouldn't necessarily be a cost saving by AI. For instance, modern methods of construction, modularization, off-site construction, that kind of stuff. Sorry, who wants to go?
Well, I think there's a cost even to running the models, you know, like even some of the machines that we have, you know, to run those models, they're touching 20,000 euros just to actually buy the physical machine. But then if you're running it on the cloud, like of AWS, you know, you could be paying 10, 20 grand a month just to run those models, just to store the data. So they're quite expensive to run. So like they need to bring significant savings to actually, you know, yield the benefit to you. So like we're probably in a luxury position at the moment. Like, you know, we're government funded at the moment. So for us to reach the end of the project, to have a real cost benefit case to justify using those models, who knows?
Yeah, just on one of the things there, I think down on your slide, it was reworking at 30%. I went to ChatGPT, it says it's 5 or 10%. So like it's pulling data from obviously, you know, Google and all the rest of it, like, and it's contradicting resources and sets and measurements. Well, what building were you talking about? What building was I talking about? Like, I don't think the data is there, to be honest with you, to say what actually the savings would be. And you touched on that. Like my fundamental thing is there is a saving there. So irrespective if it's 1% or 2%, it's worth doing if there's a saving. But that's only if the saving is through all the design team, if you know what I mean. That you're not carrying the can for spending 100K on software to give the client 3K savings on his building or flood defense, you know. So like there's a huge commercial aspect of this that's not really been touched on at all, you know.
Yeah, I think there's huge savings to be made. I think, you know, the reason I put those stats up was because they seem to be out there. But a lot of it might not be where we expect. I think, you know, the biggest cost in construction is materials, better research materials that are lighter, cheaper to build, maybe faster drying mass concrete, stronger concrete with less rebar. Those kind of things can make big savings, and maybe AI can help in the development of those. I don't know, that's manufacturing. But maybe that's somewhere that can really help. In construction, you know, what is it, labor is about 30%. We can make that process of labor a bit quicker, but then that's a finite amount of saving you can make there. So absolutely, but it might be from different places, and it's incremental. There's no golden bullet. You know, that's just the reality of it. It's bits and pieces, and we'll see it throughout industry, and it might come down to, and it might be at the detriment of some people's businesses, some people's jobs, that some things are better. You know, I think one of the things, the reality capture is a big one. I think point clouds becoming 3D models is going to be a big thing, and that will save certain parts of it. But, you know, I don't think anyone knows. We just have to bite it and see. That's, you know.
Yeah, we're on the roller coaster, whether we like it or not. Well, look, I'd like to, any questions? Okay, look, I'd like to, well, thank you to our panel and thank you for showing up and for your insights. So can I get a